The multi-billion-dollar extension to the Panama Canal has opened. Marching bands kicked off celebrations for the project that was 2 years in the making and cost more than $5 billion. The construction of new locks, which doubles the waterway capacity, has been plagued by delays and cost overruns. But as Craig Copetas explains, there's been similar problems throughout the canal's 102-year history.
The dream to dig a 77-kilometer trench across Panama began in 1534. But the decision to link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans 3 centuries later turned into a construction nightmare. About 800,000 mostly French investors lost some $287 million, and 22,000 people lost their lives to the disease, accidents, and political violence as the waterway was carved through some of the thickest jungle on Earth. At the turn of the 20th century, U.S. President Teddy Roosevelt declared that the dream could no longer be deferred. Roosevelt sent in the shovels and poured the modern-day equivalent of $9 billion into the project. Finally, the canal opened for business in 1914 and has been the pride of Panama ever since. But the marvel was ill-suited to handle the sea traffic of globalization. There are now just too many ships, and their size would have been science fiction for any maritime architect or civil engineer back in the 19th century. So the canal's capacity had to be expanded, but the impact and cost of the project were astronomical. Panamanians were given the final say in a referendum in 2006.
This time, it won't be foreigners that will decide what Panama does with its canal. This time, it'll be up to us. It'll be us who decide if we want to expand the Panama Canal.
A resounding yes vote saw the $5.3 billion refurbishment kick off a year later. 2 new locks were built to make room for vessels carrying 12,600 containers, almost 3 times what's currently allowed. The canal's contribution to Panama's GDP is expected to grow from 4 to 30%. Though it still takes 8 to 10 hours to traverse the Panama Canal, the decision to refurbish and reinvest in the world's most famous waterway has created some 30,000 new jobs in Panama.
There have been a lot of sacrifices made by Panama to build this infrastructure, and we are giving them an opportunity to feel where all of that effort is going into.
The effort and sacrifice now faces some stiff competition. One of China's richest men wants to dethrone this waterway's title as the world's largest by building one through Nicaragua. At an estimated cost of $50 billion and double the depth of the Panama Canal, it would accommodate extra large cargo ships that aren't yet in common use. But as violent protests disrupt construction there, similar to that experienced in Panama, it could take decades before it's completed. Craig Copetas, TRT World, Panama.